just heard music coming from the instrumentalist musician, Sirius, Nubian. Now, the thing is, getting a lot of emails from some of you listeners asking me, when are we going to have LMT Connection back on the podcast? Well, they've recently been out on tour. They recently came back from California. So we don't have them interviewing them on this podcast, but I do have a past interview that they gave when we went to see them in St. Catharines at the Rock and Sock restaurant in St. Catharines. So we have an interview from that. We are going to get them back again on the podcast in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, here's the interview from LMT Connection from the Rock and Sock restaurant in St. Catharines.
Okay, starting with my biggest influence. Okay, well, my personal biggest influence were, I guess starting off with was like 50s music, but I found that I like 50s jazz better than I did 50s rock and roll. And even though there was, there are always some songs, there's always something, in every genre of music that kind of catches your ear. Even during that time, I fell in love with Latino music. And I was only a kid going to high school. And and from Latino music, that kind of mixed in with jazz and stuff. And that made me familiar with musicians. Like my favorite guitarist is Wes Montgomery. He's number one, then there's the rest of them. But my favorite keyboard player, it's kind of hard to say, there's a few of them, but I like people like Ahmad Jamal, McCoy Tyner, people like that, Chick Corea. I mean, that kind of keyboard playing, Yeah, that kind of space. Other than that, I like classical pianos, But and drummers, that's probably a dozen different percussionists that I really, really like, So
not a certain drummer.
No, that's it. Every instrument, like trumpets, saxophones, whatever. I got my picks,
Yeah.
So these are people that, just to answer the question, who were your influences, So now it's kind of hard to say, what I'm, believe it or not, I'm listening more to classical music and stuff like that. I'm not so much of how the music is going, but the picture that it's painting, I mean, as I've grown older, I begin to understand that these people were painting pictures. And at first I heard a bunch of notes, a whole bunch of loud and soft and loud and soft. I mean, it was amazing, but I didn't realize that they were painting portraits. Whoever was writing this stuff, that blind guy that wrote all this stuff, Mozart,